Hello, hello. My name is Heather. I'm the community coordinator here at WAC, and I'm here hanging out with the founder, John Patrick Morgan. I'm going to be asking him a whole load of questions about our flagship program, Creator's Journey, and why investing a year in becoming fluent in the creating perspective is going to change your life in all the ways that you're looking to. Hi, JP.
Hey, what's up? Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. So, Creator's Journey is this year-long adventure in creating a new way of being that'll allow you to dramatically improve every area of your life. But first, before we go into the details of that, I would love us to discuss who this work is for.
Mm, yeah, I love this question because I love answering the most honest answer for me is human beings.
Yeah,
I know that as the community coordinator who's calling people in, you always want me to be more specific than that, and I will be, but I have to start there because um, that's as grandiose as the promise, which is that will help you create everything you want in your life.
yeah,
And why the grandiosity is it's not like some puffed up narcissistic idea of how wonderful I am. It's really because the essence of this work is to help a person at the deepest level of being human,
hmm
just like the how they relate to themselves on the inside. And that means that it really is for any human being, and it really can help you create anything in your life
yeah,
because everything you get in your life comes from the actions you take, which comes from your thinking and your feeling and your experience of who you are. So when you work at this deep level, you really do work at the level that's applicable for all humans and can help them create anything. And we've seen that through all the myriad of things which help people create. We'll talk about that.
yeah,
And to give your answer a little bit more like cred and like appreciation, we were saying earlier, not for whiners, right?
yeah,
We've kind of realized that like whilst this can help anybody,
yes,
people who don't have a certain modicum of self-responsibility are going to freak the fuck out really fast. And they're
yeah,
not going to get anything out of it because it's going to be way too confronting. We give people so much power that for some people it's too overwhelming.
yeah.
It's overwhelming and they don't want to carry that. They don't want to wield that much power. It's too confronting. And so, a line that I got from my mentor, not for the faint of heart, totally applies to this work. Um, people who deeply value honesty and
Yeah,
integrity and authenticity because we use that as like a tool to create power, like a radical self-honesty, right? All those popular books, like you can take like what is that? The book about ownership that like that Navy SEAL wrote, or like radical ownership, radical vulnerability, radical honesty,
sure.
not
hmm
radical anything, all of it together into like a Vitamix, and it's like that's creating. It's like just there's an intensity um to the work that cuts like a hot knife through butter, but you got to be up for that kind of heat. So what else would I say who's for like a person who deep down inside they already have a sense that the world can be their oyster,
Mm,
like that speaks to them, but
yeah,
maybe they often don't feel like they have the ability to navigate the world that way, even though like it feels true, but it doesn't. They feel like cut off from it somehow.
yeah.
Like it's for people who dream, who are, you know, hearing a call to a greater adventure in their life.
hmm
Um, and it's for people who can feel the ache of being well adapted to a sick society.
Mm,
That's
yes,
that's a riff
yes.
on Krishnamurti. He said, it is no sign of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And so
Yes.
when you feel flat or down and you're a little suspicious that maybe it's not you, maybe it's this world,
hmm
then you are experiencing the call to live a little bit beyond the pale or the status quo or the normal,
Yeah.
and to live to walk a different path. The path of a creator is not a path that exists until you forged it. And so it's for someone that's not actually looking for a path, but looking to create one. So, you know, again, that could be any human being, but it's going to speak to certain people who are ready for it in a certain way.
Absolutely. Let's touch on the kind of places people are when they show up, right? Like, what are they struggling with?
Yeah. I mean, as I was saying this morning, like relationships feel hard,
Yeah.
right? Like you feel,
Mhm.
and you're very certain that a lot of the relationship problems that you're having are because of people out there in the world and how they're behaving and being. And if
Yeah.
they would just be or behave differently, then your life would be easier, your relationship would be better. That's the reality that people often live in when they come. They don't live in that reality when they exit this work or evolve through this work, but that's often the place they are when they walk through the door. Um, and that, when a certain person out there is being a certain way, it doesn't matter if it's an intimate partner, a friend, a business colleague, a peer, anything, any industry, any context in life, community, other parents, whatever it is, if that person out there was being different, then my life would be
Yeah.
easier, right? My relationship would be better, my life would be better. Um, and so when the person has that idea, like it can be difficult to feel connection. It
Hmm.
can be difficult to make it through a day without being frustrated because that person's in your world. Uh,
Yeah.
it can mean that you're not having sex or intimacy if it's an intimate partner that you're having this situation with, you know. It could mean that you're not making money because if these
Yeah.
people would just understand my value, then they would buy my service. And it's like these people don't get it, like, but so it can be, it's very, becoming really, really effective at creating relationship that gives you what you want means you get more of what you want in your life. So much of what we want comes to us through relationship, like 99% of it,
Everything.
everything. And so
Everything.
everything is created in relationship for the most part, I mean, you could probably get away with working on the internet and like trading stocks or something, but sometimes you got to like go out to the post office and mail something and there's a human being there and you got to be able to be with that person in a way that's effective. So yeah, um, that's something that people come in with challenged by a lot. You know, and then that's like related to all the like the more classic, oh, they come in wanting to make more money, they feel like they could be making a lot more, but they're kind of stuck. Or, I meet people sometimes who've had a lot of impact. They've got maybe 100,000 followers or thousands of people following their work and they're not making any money.
Yeah.
Or, and it's like, what's the missing piece for them just the way they think about like creating money and what's the stuff going on in me. So that's a big thing. I'd say relationships and money are the two main things that people come through the door struggling with. And
Right.
that through this deep shift that we create in them, they become super conscious of how they've been creating that obstacle in the first place, which
Yeah.
is confronting and overwhelming. And we can do a lot of work to help them to be able to meet that in a way that's peaceful and liberating instead of overwhelming. Um, and then they become like, holy shit, if I can create that obstacle, I can create something different. So then like everything just kind of expands and it's in a really magical way because they're doing it, but it's not like, here, this is exactly what you say and what you do to get the outcome. It's like they through
Right.
that deep shift, stuff that starts working. And at first, oftentimes they're like, oh my God, like they're getting lucky. Like it's a fucking coincidence that like they're creating themselves and their reality and suddenly stuff start working out. I'm listening. It's like, oh yeah, it's a big surprise. And then like after a while, they're like, I think this is working. It's like, yeah, you just have to
Yeah.
connect the dots. You're not just getting lucky, you're creating it. And
Yeah.
yeah, those are the biggest things I would say right in front of mind. I guess let me say there's some other things that people come in with is like they just have maybe they have success and they have a sense that like there's a deeper possibility of fulfillment through this success.
Yeah.
And like, you know, maybe they've created a bunch of money or created material success, but there's something missing inside, like
Yeah.
some depth of fulfillment. Maybe it's like you call it their purpose or whatever, like, or maybe it's just that like there's a more integrous way, a more honest way, a way that's more expression of who they are that can
Mhm.
help them through which they can sustain the success or create
Yeah.
an even greater success.
Hmm.
Like they are simultaneously called to like achieve more, but like not go through the way they've been doing it.
Yeah.
I feel caught between this false dichotomy of I either need to like stop achieving success in the material world, which I don't really want in order to get this like deeper fulfillment. It's like that's not, you don't have to pick one. And so that's just a big
Mhm.
one of the unique things that we really offer is we're a path, we're the kind of nexus path of like spiritual growth and material success. It's not like those are two separate things. We do both of them in parallel. No, like they literally are an integrated. We
They're the same.
utilize material success, relationships, money, etc., as the context for your evolution spiritually, psychologically, and spiritually. So it's not just that you get both. You have to, you can't choose one or the other. And in our work, you have to do both because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the results people have gotten, right?
okay.
We can think back to some past clients and we can even split them up. I know everyone has both, but what are some material results that people have created by coming to Wax
Yeah.
program?
I was just thinking through today because I wanted to make a video telling my story about like the dreams that I've had and how I've created them. And like on YouTube for 15 years. And I was thinking I'll go back to some of my earlier videos and be like, this was then, and I had this dream, and then this is the dream that, and like the dream homes that I've created and where we live now. And then I was thinking about, wow, there's a lot of clients that have like created their dream home, like literally,
Yeah.
like they had a dream to buy a house one day or to have a big, beautiful house with a pool or on a mountain or in this beautiful part of Arizona. And it's like, and I get pictures or buy a farm somewhere in the middle of the country. I get pictures from people. It's like, I bought a house and they celebrate with me and it's always fun and wonderful, but it's like, they're kind of starting to stack up. So like literally, I mean, in a way, I'm like the most cliche life coach on earth.
Yeah.
But like but it's not bullshit. Like, what's your dream? And then like I help you to create it. I mean, 15 years ago, I started this project, 100 Secret Dreams, right? Or I got
Yep.
people tell me their secret dream. I'm pointing over there because I have the scroll of all their names on it. And I've saved. This is like when I first started. And it's like I did that because I was always like, I'm just going to dream and create my life. And then it was like, then I got into this personal development thing. And it's like, well, I'll help other people do that. And
Yeah.
I've just been literally doing that dream, and then we'll create it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like, and we'll create it through blood, sweat, sacrifice, not enjoying ourselves so we can
Oh,
get there. And we'll create it, but every step of the way will be a dream in and of itself. You will live the dream in the creation of the dream.
yeah.
So I'm not like trying to convince you to enjoy the journey. Don't worry about the destination of your dream. No, you're dreaming your life. Every moment of it is something that's fulfilling and that you love. And so I've like literally been helping people to create literal dreams. Like one of my favorite stories is Noam, now Mercedes, who when we were working together, she had a vision to create this center in Costa Rica where she could like teach people about personal evolution and stuff. And she also loved cooking. And we created this restaurant in the middle of the jungle in Costa Rica, like 2 hours from Guanacaste, which is like you have to go like through a river and like it's just insanely
Yeah.
hard to get to. And it became one of the top fine dining restaurants on the planet that people
Mhm.
travel. TripAdvisor said one of the top 10 restaurants in the world worth traveling around the world to eat at. And so
Mhm.
people would fly from Russia. And it's like this place was completely created and I can go on and on about the details of that. And like from my early years and where this worked, my friend Jake helped him to create a martial arts studio that's now one of the biggest studios in our state, back in Rhode Island. And, so like a lot of brick and mortar businesses that were like
Yeah.
literally just a concept now.
Mhm.
And I get the chills too. When I went back to visit Rhode Island, I walked through the door of that place and I see like multiple rooms going on with like 100 students doing multiple classes, like 50 bags. And I take the class, and at the end, he like, puts his arm up and he says, "Hey, John helped me to create this." And I
Yeah.
was just like, it's really something to be inside of a physical space with all these people that are
Yeah.
having experience that literally was just a dream locked inside somebody's heart and mind. And I was like, no, dude, let's get this out. Let's
Oh,
get it out in the world. Let's have it be.
yeah.
Um, and so there's businesses like that, that have been born. There are marriages that were destined for divorce that are now like some of the most beautiful marriages that inspire other people.
Mhm.
Um, there are people that were single that are now in relationships and married,
Yeah.
single and lonely that are now in very happy and fulfilling relationships. Um, and there were people that were in relationships that weren't right for them and they didn't want to admit it, and we helped them to create their way out and into a new and beautiful relationship, and in a way that was conscious and
Yeah.
respectful, loving, and it's better for everybody. So there's all sorts of ways it ends up, but it's always better in
Yeah.
that sense. through this work. One thing I will say just to interject is I'm just seeing this now as my commitment is once you do creating, the worst of your life will be over
Uh-huh.
because you will never, ever be able to experience life as something happening to you in a way where you feel so disempowered and at a loss again.
Yeah.
Because the way that you metabolize reality will have shifted so much that you'll have a power and a way to navigate it that's just different. So I don't care what happens. I don't care if your legs get chopped off, your kids die. It won't be worse than it would
Yeah.
be without this. It'll be
Yeah.
better than it would be without it. So sorry I put that thought out there. Well, I have kids too, but like anyway, that's the most devastating possible thing.
It
But I
is.
if that ever happens, God forbid, like I'll be able to navigate in a way that is so much more beautiful and powerful because of this growth that I have in this perspective.
Mhm.
That was a tangent. What was the question I was answering?
You're talking about material results, but now you've moved into the next
Oh
question,
yeah.
results in being. But what I want to say before we move on to that is that it can get better. Life can get better. Your experience of life and the material results that you create in your life can get better than you understand before you come into the work. I think such a huge um, benefit of this work is stepping into possibility and creating thing like my relationship is one of the marriages that transformed. I didn't know how good marriage could be. I had
Mm,
no idea.
mm,
And so, it's great to come up with a vision and create it. And it's also amazing to step in and have results come out that
yeah,
you had no idea were even possible.
mm.
So,
Thanks for saying that. It's one of my favorite stories. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but
oh,
yeah, it's deeply rewarding. And you know what I've found out recently is that whilst it's really fun for me to help people like make stuff happen in their life, make money through doing work they love and like buy cool experiences and provide for their family or whatever, it's actually even I think it touches me on a deeper level when to help people to create just the relationship that they would love to have,
yeah.
and even it's like when it's up helping people to make money, it's like the fact they got the money is great, but the fact that they got that connection with the human being that paid that
Yep.
like that's an even bigger win for me, like in my heart emotionally. So it's like my deepest purpose. Actually, my first website when I first started this work was realhumanconnect.com. It was like,
Yeah.
that's what I love. And it's still at the heart of it. It's what my first TED talk was about. It's still at the heart of everything that I do. It's just that like, in service of creating, in service of fulfillment and all that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, kind of a tangent to that. I'd love to talk about the results in people's beings, right? They
Mm,
come and they're what you were describing before, the commonality in all the struggles is like the feeling of powerlessness, right? And so they come with a feeling of powerlessness. What's the difference when people, after they spend a year doing this, studying, creating, being in conversation? The
yeah.
first thing I thought of was confidence, but like, what else?
Yeah, there's a confidence in their ability to become good at things, to become capable. It's like there's a book, The Six Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden, and he talks about how self-esteem has like two components to it. I think one is like self-love and the other is self-efficacy. And
Hmm.
self-love is like how much you like care about yourself. I
Yeah,
think it's the term is self-love, but self-efficacy is the belief that you have in your ability to figure things out.
yeah,
And so one of the things that goes up dramatic, I mean, both actually go up, but like you increase in your self-efficacy. You kind of live in the world with a knowing that you can pretty much make anything happen if you
mm,
just keep your attention on this attitude and this perspective and keep seeing more of what you're seeing. Um, so that's what I think when you say confidence, that's what it is. It's not like
mhm.
I know that I can get behind put me in the cockpit of a fighter jet and I'll fly it perfect.
Right now. Yeah.
Right now,
And
without any training, it's not that. It's like knowing that, like, no, if I wanted to learn to fly a fighter jet, I could definitely do it. Like whatever it is, I could learn it and I could do it well.
yeah.
Because I'm creating everything. Kind of you start to
Mhm.
really understand that. And yeah, you know, also at a really deep level, we're gonna get a little deep philosophically here. one of the reasons you get a great sense of power is because your relationship with power changes. And
Hmm.
I knowingly and intentionally use the word power as one of our front-facing values,
Hmm.
despite the way that 9 out of 10 people read it will be different than the way I mean it.
Hmm.
When people see the word power, they think that means power over,
Sure.
right? Control,
Hmm.
and it's not what I mean. And yet I want people that think it means that to be drawn to this work so that I have the opportunity to help them evolve in their relationship to power and see it differently. And that's just
Yeah.
an expression of my own evolution in relationship to power. And so, when I was young, it was like you can either have like a rowboat or a power boat to get, out on the ocean. And it was like the power boat was obviously better because it had more power,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there was always something about sailboats that I was curious about. My dad was like, "Oh, it takes them too long to get to the island. It's crazy. They sit there all day." But I was like, "There's a lot of them, so they must know something that my dad doesn't know."
Mm.
As I
Hmm.
got older, I finally like went and took sailing lessons in my 20, or actually I think I was 30, just married, and I took sailing lessons, and I got it, and I was like, there is a relationship with power in which it's not mine, but I learned
Yeah.
how to harness the power that is.
Uh-huh.
So there's and a sailboat can go all the way around the world over and over and over again without ever stopping. That's not going to run out of gas.
Nope.
So that's one evolution of my relationship to power. I won't get into all of them here, but like um, when you start to come into contact with the power to create as not yours, but something that you embrace that is,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to actually affect more change, have more impact, get more of what you want, way less effort
Hmm.
because you're not the one rowing the boat, putting gas in. You're not this engine that's trying to force and drive everything.
Yeah.
So that's a big shift in the way a person's way of being, and their experience of being in the world is they get access to more power by letting go of the idea that it's theirs.
Mm.
What another shift in being is my favorite one, which I said if it was maybe it's on my put it on my gravestone, I'd die happy, or I guess I'd already be dead. I'd be happy in my grave somehow if it said that my favorite testimony was from my client Clayton, who said, a lot of outside all the stuff that we created in the life, the business,
Yeah.
the marriage, and the house, and everything. Um, the best thing is that I became a friend to myself. I love telling that story because it touches me so deeply, and that's a huge shift in being that occurs. In fact, for years, I kind of tried to deny the fact that the biggest result that people, I'll help you make more money, I'll help you do this in your life, and that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, and then people would be like, the best thing about this year, this work, I just really love myself. I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay, it's a thing. Because people keep saying that. One of my clients, Rachel, like it was such a big thing for her that she wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
And it's like such a cool little book. It's like how to love yourself in less than a week, and maybe for the rest of your life. It's like a sweet
Yeah.
little table book. Ellen had it like in her gift thing. Ellen from like the TV show, and
Yeah.
but like yeah. So that is a massive thing. It's not like the aim of our work, but it's the means.
It's the means.
It's the
Yes.
means, and because it's the means that we're with constantly,
Yes.
you come out like a fucking expert at it.
Yeah.
Because it's by necessity. Like we're not going to help you get anything you want in your life if you're not loving yourself on the way. And so like you accidentally fall out of this work as like this being that loves themselves more than like anybody you meet, and not in some narcissistic way, but just a compassionate, gentle, easy way of being with yourself that and joyful way of being with yourself. That's yeah, that's I guess I have to admit and acknowledge that it's one of the greatest gifts that I think that this work gives is that it's so funny because it wasn't my conscious aim as an outcome, but it was my commitment as a means. And so it became the primary outcome.
Yes. When I came here, I had an idea that I was going to work harder or be tougher on myself.
Yeah.
And it was really the opposite,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's just the most freeing experience I've ever had is realizing the path to everything that I want is the love and freedom that's what I mean by people don't even know they're missing it,
No.
right? They have no idea that it's what it's like once it's
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
so
Gorgeous.
scared into believing that if I wasn't scared, then I wouldn't produce and I wouldn't have any value and I would just be a bum and I would, yeah, self-destruct and be alone. So, and that's just not true. The more you love yourself, the more you create actually. So,
So let's segue from that into, so you developed the creating perspective, right? That's your modality. How, like, what is it and how does it help people shift into creating something new?
hmm.
If you had to summarize it.
I think the best way to summarize it is the story about my little boy Asher when he was 2 in the backyard of my house. And
Mhm.
uh, his first word was no, his second word was moon because we were new parents and we thought we had to give them kid flashcards and words to make sure they learn how to talk. And so there was a flashcard of the moon on it. And we used to say moon. And sometimes when we point to the moon, we got it. And one day we're out in the backyard and he's looked up. It's like moon, moon, pointing. And I was like on the other side and he wanted me to come over. So I start walking towards him. And as I walk towards him, he's looking at me, he steps forward. And then the moon, because of where he was, dropped beneath the roof line and he didn't know and he looked back. And his face just went like from smile to like this. And he looked at me like, "Oh, what'd you do, Dad?" Like you took the moon
Yeah.
away. And so when I got to him, I picked him up and I moved him back. And he looked, moon, his face lit up. Moon, moon, he's so happy. And then a little bit crazy, like dad mode. I just moved him back again. So like he's like, no, moon. And then I picked him up and moved him back. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, he's happy. Then I did it again. And here's the moment. This is the point. This is what creating is. In
Mhm.
that moment, he stepped back himself and he could see the moon and he was happy to see the moon. And so
Yeah.
there's 2 points in there that are really the essence of what the creating perspective is. The first is there's always a place to stand where you can see the moon. And
Mhm.
the moon represents my wife is perfect just as she is. Our life is great. Our sex is frequent, fun, and filled with joy. We are connected and understand each other, right? And the
Mhm.
not moon is you can imagine all the opposite, right?
Everything else.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is my the core of the creating perspective is always a place to stand where you can see the moon. And when you're standing where you can see the moon, that creates your experience in that moment of the world. And when
Yeah.
you are experiencing the world with love and through love, you have immense power. You're magnetic, you are creative and lucid, you are articulate, you are influential, you create impact, you can, and
Yeah.
that's power. That's what love does. But the other point that's right in that story is that
Mhm.
there was a moment that my son Asher realized that he could move. First, I moved him. It was happening. He was either seeing the moon or not. It was happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a moon. There isn't a moon. There is a moon. There isn't a moon. And that's the way a lot of people come to this work. You know, they know that there's different experiences, but it's because of the circumstance of where I am. But the creating perspective shows you that in any instance, you have the power to move from
Mhm.
where you are to where you can see the moon. And that power, learning that, becoming embodied in your understanding of that, that becoming available more and more and more through the iteration of being in the conversation and being moved so many times. Every time I talk with somebody, I'm just picking them up and moving them, picking them up and moving them. And eventually they go, fuck, I can step. And they
Yeah.
step and everything just clicks. And so I get the chills thinking about it because the thing that I love more than anything is not a person standing where they can see the moon instead of where they can't, but
Yeah.
moving themselves into that position. Then I'm
Mhm.
like fucking letting off fireworks, excited about that. Because once you get that and you get better and better at that, like that's when you hit that inflection point where
Yeah.
you now hold the scepter of power of creation in your life in
Mhm.
every moment.
Yeah. Mhm. I'm interested in what you would say the risks of not learning creating are.
I know because you asked me before. I was laughing because of what I said. I'll say it again because it's funny, but it's true. Is you're kind of fucked because because it's not like when you come and learn the creating perspective and do this work, you learn how to create. That's
Mhm.
not what actually happens. What you learn is that you are already always creating
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So you're in a car, like thinking you're in the passenger seat, but you're
Yeah.
actually in the driver's seat and you just don't realize it. And it's like, why does this car keep crashing into things? Why is this happening? And it's like, you're actually driving, you just didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
Or you thought it was an autonomous vehicle, but it wasn't in autopilot, it was in manual. And so you're
Mm,
just smashing into stuff all the time, thinking it's just happening, but you're doing it. And
yeah.
so the cost of not learning this is that you keep creating powerfully in the direction that you don't want, in a way that's not aligned with your heart, with your soul, that's
Yeah.
giving you what you don't want. You know, you keep having experiences that are frustrating for you and hard for you. Um, and that just means life is way harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And the other cost of it is like you don't get to find out what you're truly capable of
Mm,
because you're too distracted by thinking it's not you.
yeah. Mhm.
And so, you know, life just gets better and better and better when you see that you're creating everything and when you know how to move into that position of agency with it.
Yeah. So you have a new program that
Mm,
you just signed,
mm.
and
It's
I
going
want,
well.
yeah, I'm excited to share the details of it and to help people really understand how um, stepping into this work is not just, I'm going to have a great year, but stepping into this work will change your understanding of who you are and your capacity to create something different for the rest of your life.
Mm,
Right. So, creator's journey, right, is a year long.
mhm.
And we'll describe all the elements. I'll have you describe them all, but can you just give me an overview of why someone would do this work for a year? Why step into a year long um, program that focuses on becoming fluent in the creating perspective?
A year is long enough for you to start to really get it. Like my
Mhm.
friend Ryan, who's like a black belt, that's like 5 black belts. He says that like a black belt is like when you get a black belt, I think he said in I forget what language it was, but one of the languages a black belt means like beginner. Like you've
Right.
gotten to the point where like now you can start. Right.
Yeah.
And like a year is long enough for you to really get the depth of what we're offering.
Yeah.
And the reason that it's a year is because I thought it would be a travesty, and I've experienced this with people who have done this work for less than a year. It would be a travesty for somebody to come to this work, start to get it, and then stop before it really landed,
Yeah.
and they really got that they can move
Yes.
one place to another, and they know how to, and they were good at it.
Yeah.
Like I want you to be able to see it, feel it, know you can do it, and be good at doing it and moving.
Mhm.
And once you're doing that, then like if there's more we can do together once you're like at that level. But
Right.
that that itself, that's the primary gift and offering of this work. And
Yeah.
so it takes that time, you know,
Mhm.
like I'm not in the business of like just helping you get some outcome in your life. Like I'm in the business of evolving you,
Yeah.
you're psychologically and spiritually
Mhm.
and existentially, so that the way that you relate to yourself in life changes forever. And you may experience other changes beyond that. Hopefully you do, like beyond this work too, but like it will be a step change in your life and you will relate to everything differently forever because of it. That will make things easier and give you more power to create down the road, on and on and on. Like, and so that's not something that you get by seeing it once, twice, 3 times, 5 times.
Right.
Something that you get by seeing it over and over and over and over again, you know, like because it's quite different than the way most people think about life and see life. And
Yeah.
it's quite different than the way you probably have up until you start this work, right? So it takes going through that iteration. It's like over and over and over again. And it's just the amount of time. Also, like, you know, a year, yeah, I could do 10 months, I could do 9 months. It's like,
Mhm.
but there's something about once you go from the word months to the word year that creates a certain consequentiality for people
Yeah.
that feels like a longer commitment. Even if I said 12 months, it wouldn't feel as long as a year,
Mhm.
right? Something happens when you do that. It's kind of like adding a zero to the fee for something. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
we're in the next realm of something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, that's instrumental. it always has always been instrumental in my work to create a level of commitment that is consequential. Because when you commit to something in a way that you experience as consequential, you bring a different energy and attitude towards it. You take it more
Yeah.
seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's somebody that's considering joining and they're like, oh, I don't know about a year, it's like you need to do it more than the other person because you think a year is too long to commit to. But
Right.
whether it's just like committing to things for a year in general is hard, it's like, well, let's work on your relationship to commitment. Let's have it be a liberating experience, not a trap for you, because there's way more power in experiencing commitment as a liberating force than a prison. If that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to you, then like lean into this. Or if it's just like, whoa, a whole year of personal development of one modality, oh my God. It's like, well, there's another reason to lean into something. Like, how do you get to mastery if you're like, can I just dip my toe in? Can I just
Right.
taste that one chocolate from that box and go to the next sweet shop and try some of that? It's like you
Right.
could, but those are the people that just are always skimming over the surface.
Yeah.
So I want to work with people again that are, not for the faint of heart, but also not for the ill-committed, not for the people that want the quick fix, because some things you can get really fast and some
Mhm.
things you don't get fast. And if you're
Mhm.
not willing to do the length of work and to stay in something long enough to get those things, then you're not going to get those things.
Yeah.
So you can feel my passion for it. I'm in it for the long game in everything that I do in my life. And so my offer contains a request for commitment for that to play at that level.
Yeah. And it's very difficult to uh quantify the value of creating a new default way of being,
Yeah,
right? Like you
yes,
get to keep this forever. If you can like commit to the year and come and do all the parts that we're about to tell you about, you will come out with a new default way of being that you get to keep forever.
yeah,
And it's not a temporary thing. It's becoming more of who you are, not just this year. And
right.
so, yeah. So when I watched you design this, you thought about all the pieces that the people that make the biggest transformations in your work use to make
Mhm.
that happen. And so we call them the four essential elements.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, let's go through there's mentorship, curriculum, practices, and community. That's what makes up
Mhm.
this beautiful creator's journey year. So let's go through them one by one.
Okay.
So let's talk about how each of them shows up in the program and then why it's valuable, the way you've designed it. So, mentorship, what's that?
You know, for years I identified as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I heard about it and I was like, oh my gosh, I love helping people in conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started doing coaching and like over time I was like, as I was saying earlier, I'm more interested in helping a person evolve their capacity to create in their life than I am helping them to get a particular result.
Yeah.
I'll help them get results as the means to help them evolve. And so it's like I started to see coaching was more about helping a person to get an outcome, not so
Mm-hmm.
much about evolving them. And so that was one thing that kind of was shifting. And then I was like looking back on all of my growth and how every single time I wanted to learn something, I just sought to be around the conversation that the person or the people that were great at that were having. Right. I
Mm-hmm.
would just sit in the car with like real estate mentors and ride shotgun and like just listen to, I don't have to talk to them. Just have to
Yeah.
listen to them talk on the phone or just
Yeah.
shadow them and just watch them be in conversation,
Yeah.
And I've hired some of the best coaches and spiritual teachers and mentors in the world. And yeah, oftentimes I'm in conversation with them directly, but that's not really because I want them to help me. It's I want to see how they're thinking and how they're trying to help me. Because I
Yeah.
want to really I'm shadowing them as they coach me. That's like the higher
Mm-hmm.
order real value for me there. And so that's mentorship actually more than coaching.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's what I see myself providing through conversation, both when I'm speaking to somebody directly. Yes, I'm helping them to create something in their life, but I'm also mentoring them on how to be in conversation with yourself and others to create in this world, to create
Mm-hmm.
yourself, right? That's like the real value that I'm creating in every conversation is how to be in a conversation like this with
Yeah.
yourself and with others. And so, and it's therefore just as valuable to everybody who's listening. And I do think being there live is an important piece of it. I think I guess it's the section one right now, especially in this world of like content, and overload and like, replays and like, there's something different about the presence that you bring when something's unfolding live from other human beings that actually creates a listening that creates a different depth of learning and understanding. And so being present to a live unfolding of conversation is, I think, instrumental in the mentorship having the value that it has, you know? And yeah, so yeah, at the end of the day, what I really want to help people do is to be able to be in conversation with themselves in a way that has them be free, has them love themselves and everything in the world, and has them be powerful in a way that has them be able to create what they want, right? So for themselves, for others, for the world. And the way that I know how to do that best is to demonstrate for them how to be in conversation that creates freedom, love, and power and beauty, truth. And I can do that through talking to another person, through talking to myself out loud while they witness that. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter. I'm talking to you, I'm talking to a goat, I'm talking, which would be another goat since you're a goat. Like, it doesn't matter who, or I'm talking to myself. It's all conversation that creates freedom, love, and power. And so, that's what the mentorship is about.
Yeah,
Forget anything that is part of our,
I
show.
know. We'll fill in all the
Fill
holes.
in the
Yes.
gap. Yeah.
So how that shows up in Creator's Journey is that we're going to meet every single week when you join. You'll
Mhm.
meet every single week for a whole year.
Yeah.
And so JP will be in conversation with people for 50 minutes, almost an hour. And
Mhm.
then myself will come on and we'll discuss, we'll all share what we really got from that conversation. And I was in a year-long circle with JP, and witnessing him be in conversation with others was equally or maybe more valuable some days than being in conversation myself. So this program is really heavy on the integration, right? Really heavy on the doing, really heavy on taking what you learn here. It's fun to come to programs and learn, but we're here for results,
Yeah.
right? Come and learn. That's cool. That's so cool. Come grow your brain, but come use it and apply it to your life. So our weekly meetings, JP will be in conversation, then we'll integrate, we'll talk about what we learned, what we created as we watched, and then you'll be in a peer support conversation. So every
Yeah.
single week you'll be with somebody different, and you'll be putting what you learned, what you witnessed into your own words, creating it your own and applying it to your own life, and then supporting someone else in applying it to theirs. So we'll talk about the relationships that creates in the fourth section about community.
Mm.
But yeah, the weekly meetings. And then tell us a little bit also about how you'll have other creators come.
Yeah, I have people that I've worked with for years that have a real mastery in this work and this perspective, where they really understand the core principles. They're embodied, they live them, and if you met them and you saw their work, you might not realize it, because what we're not doing is teaching a dogma. We're
Yeah.
not teaching a certain way of talking or a certain vocabulary that you have to use. We're
Mhm.
we're actually helping people to get it so deeply that they can take it and run with it and make it their own. So there's
Yeah.
people out there that have created very successful businesses in all industries with this principle and these ideas at the heart of what they do. And so for
Mhm.
those in the industries that are specifically aligned with, personal development and this conversation, I'm inviting them to come back to be guests and to just do their thing their way to help you to create in their style. And so it's intentionally going to look a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
But at the heart of what they're doing is what I'm sharing and teaching. And the reason I want them to do that is, number one, so you're not just in conversation with me every week. That can get old. But also, like, it's really, it will help you to see the essence of this as not my style of talking,
Yeah.
like some loud extroverted guy necessarily, but like it can be a beautiful, soft, feminine voice. It can be a slower paced, more conscious male voice, like whatever. It can be all different styles, and
Yes.
it can look like dream work or breath work, or
Mhm.
look like different things.
Mhm.
because it's not me. It's something deeper. So yeah, that's really why I've got that structure here.
I had someone talk, I spoke with someone today, and they said that they like that it's not just about becoming a mini JP.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
really
only
not.
short enough. You don't want to be a mini version of me. But very mini.
Just
Um,
another iteration of JP,
yeah,
right? It's about becoming more of you, not
yeah,
you, JP, but more
right.
of each of
Okay.
us
Yeah,
ourselves. Yeah.
yeah,
Beautiful. So that's the
nice.
mentorship component. So the second essential element is curriculum. Will you tell us about the curriculum you've put
How
together?
about instead of telling you, I show you, share
Ooh,
my screen.
yeah.
So here in our Mighty Networks, share, we have all these courses
So
here.
this is the portal
This is the
where,
portal, yeah.
yeah,
Um, I'll just show the courses right now. So we have all these courses and some of them, and there's lessons in every one. So if we go into the Creating Everything course, this one's actually available not just for Creator's Journey, but for anybody who's in our $10 a month thing. So membership for the We Are Creating community overall. But so that one you've already got if you're in our other membership. But so when you join Creator's Journey, you'll get access to all these other courses here.
right.
The Creating Perspective is a starting place. And each of these are like an hour-long lesson. What is creating perspectives? How am I creating this? And inside of each lesson, you've got the video that's about an hour, and you've got a summary of the major insights. You've got prompts for reflections. You've got specific actions for you to take, and you've got a request to share a comment down the bottom of like what you know, every lesson's got a different prompt for a comment on the bottom. So there's quite a bit here. Like each of these, you could spend a week on every lesson going really deep on it. That's the creating perspective, creating fundamentals, where we go kind of deeper in. This is like, creating perspectives like the basics. Creating
Yeah.
fundamentals goes deeper into like some of the core processes and principles. You can see there's like what, 7 or 8 in here. Creating results as we start to get connected to more of the tangible. We've got this program here, Alice, creating dialogue. This is kind of the core. If you were to like look at what I do in conversation with a person or with myself to help them to create what they want, this would be like the boiled down process of that. So we teach that here. And then we give a bunch of examples, and we have like Q&A answers, answers to common questions, some advanced concepts. So that's another course. This is a great course. Even if you're not a person that gets angry very much, this is a great course in understanding, where emotions like anger or frustration or stress come from at a deeper level. And then how beneath that, it even actually comes from love. And so loving anger is really about learning to see all of your emotions, the positive ones and the quote unquote negative ones, as expressions of love, which is a very liberating journey. So that's a great course. And then it's creating being and creating clients. These two courses, they used to be combined into one course called Being a Client Magnet, which is a course that we ran for many years. But I've split it into two separate courses because they kind of live on their own. It's not just for the creating being segment of the course, is for anybody that wants to create a set of ideas about who they are that they can practice being present with, that can, consciously cultivate their being. Call them declarations. Some people refer to it as a document. This is a long and in-depth course that takes you through all of the thinking and the philosophy and the principles around the holding an identity in your mind consciously as a way of affecting the unconscious operating mode that you have, that your default way of being. A really deep process I call the abracadabra process that's brought together through different places that I've learned, especially through my mentor, Steve Hardison, and others, like to really get free from the ideas we're already holding about ourselves, to get in touch with like the truth of who we are in our soul, to distill all these ideas down into a really powerful, like concentrated declaration of our being, and then how to use our speaking on a regular basis out loud in the world, privately to ourselves in our journaling, to inculcate that true way of being, not just as something that's hidden in our unconscious, but as like our conscious persona and personality and how we actually operate. And so then
Yeah.
this course goes, and this is just a much more advanced. Creating being is a way more advanced version of all the other stuff that you've done. So, we have an order that we recommend you going through all these in, and we've laid out all the lessons and in kind of an order, like, we have some creating perspective core classes, then some fundamentals one, then we ask you to do some of the Alice, then back to creating results. So when you're in Creator's Journey, we have like a link to every single lesson throughout all of these courses. We think the best order for you to do it over the course of the year. Now it is self-paced. So like, it's not like, oh, this week, everybody is going to be doing this lesson together. And then when we have our live call, I'm going to be talking about that. That's not how it works.
Mm.
You go through this course and you go through all these lessons and you do the process, right? Like you watch the video, listen to the audio, read the summary, reflect on the questions, note the stuff in your journal, go through and do the practice, share down below. If you have questions, you mark it out in here, and somebody will help you with that. Another member of the community, myself, another person on the team. And so you are completely supported through going through all of these courses, but the live calls are actually a parallel track of an expression of this work in its art form, right? So you say, this is the science, the courses are the science, and the live calls are the art. And so being able to be present with the art and being able to study and have support in the science in parallel is what really kind of like brings this work to life in a powerful way, because you're kind of hitting left brain, right brain all the
Yeah.
time in this stuff. And so, yeah, so create, and some of these things are like bonus, like they're not part of the core curriculum, bonus lessons and stuff, like they're all here. These are, some of these are really powerful lessons that people have got a lot of value out of, but we're just not requiring them as part of the core curriculum for Creator's Journey for you to have successfully completed Creator's Journey. You don't have to do every single lesson in every course, but there's 30 lessons out of the, I don't know, 50 or 60 that are in here that are required for Creator's Journey. Like creating clients, none of this is required for Creator's Journey, and yet this is a powerful program that many people have used to scale their business to multiple six figures from sub six figures. Some people have used it to launch their business, like they just to start. And some have made multiple seven figures through the work in here. And so that's all there, and you're welcome to do it anytime you want. It's just not part of the required curriculum for Creator's Journey.
So the basic is that there's, like you said, the core curriculum with 30 units. Each of them takes between 30 and 90 minutes. You do it at your own pace.
Yeah.
And then there's all those extras. And as soon as you sign up, even if you don't start the calls the week that you sign up, you can get into the courses and you can get started going. And most people that I've spoken to jump right into being a client magnet. They're pretty excited.
Yeah. I guess
creating
that
clients.
word's gotten around about that, and then we have a page of testimony that's like a mile long. So yeah, that people do jump in. So yeah, if you are somebody who has a business where you're a service-based professional and you want to grow your business, I have not heard of a course that is this impactful at the deepest level that gives you the power to create clients.
Yes.
It's not like there's so much business and marketing training out there. It's like that is not what people need. They also don't need to learn how to be better coaches or something. It's like there's plenty of that too. What's missing is how do I shift who I'm being such that I can be an effective service provider that is effective at creating clients that can use these external systems and make it work. So I make it really, really simple with the 3 asks. Like once you get that philosophy, I've been in multiple service-based businesses, real estate, web media, and personal development. And it's like the same exact thing in all the businesses. If I make these 3 asks, ask for attention, I ask people to receive an experience of my expertise, and I ask them to make a commitment that I am constantly meeting new people, they're experiencing my work, and they're becoming clients. If I'm not making those asks, it's not happening. So that's the really basic version. You've got like 4 or 5 hours of deep dive in how to do that really well in the creating clients portion. So yeah, I don't want to underestimate the value of that. I mean, people have paid $10,000, $12,000 just for that.
Yep.
And now it's part of this program that requires a $5,000 commitment for the entire year. And that used to be an 8-week, commitment. So this is, you got way more support, and you've got all that value plus 10 times more. So
yes,
for like a lot less money.
Let's move into number 3, the practices, the third essential element, because you mentioned creating being, and that's where the rubber meets the road, right? You can show up and you can learn, you can even come be in conversation with you, but tell us about the value of practicing creating on a daily basis.
Yeah, what do I mean by practicing creating? What I mean is being in conversation with yourself mostly. That's mostly what I mean by practicing creating. If you're in a conversation with another person, you're not really practicing, you're kind of doing it, right? And so like, th that's something that I do very regularly. Um, I be in conversation with myself very regularly as a way of using consciousness to, attenuate and have a role in the creation of who I am and what I experience. Just like sailing, like the conversation with myself in the morning is like raising the sail, tilling the rudder, like getting all the things in a line so that like the wind of circumstance and spirit can be caught in my sails and it can take me sailing.
Yeah.
Right. And so I set myself up every day in different ways. I have practices that help to set me free from things that I'm ruminating over or stuff that's going on in the background, bringing stuff into awareness, creating freedom there. And, and then also practices to activate a way of being that is powerful and generative that for that day ahead. Or the day behind, if it's in the evening, like, doesn't necessarily, not always necessarily in the morning, midday. Um, and so when you learn creating, you're not just getting a bunch of philosophy,
Yeah.
you're always getting something to do. You used that term earlier. Like I'm really big on doing. I have
Mhm.
this concept called in doing and out doing. It's kind of like a made up distinction, but like you could be doing stuff out in the world or doing stuff that work on yourself. It's not exactly
Yeah.
true because anything you do in the world does create you on the inside.
Yeah.
Anything you do on the inside is kind of affecting the world too, but just to create some like distinction for, you know, in doing, practicing, creating yourself is something that is at the end of it, pretty much every conversation that I'm in.
Yeah.
Like there's a philosoph, there's an insight, there's a shift, there's a new idea. Then there's like, okay, what are you going to do now to
Yeah.
breathe life into that idea? Because I just gave you a seed, and you're like, oh my God, a tomato seed, that's so great. But it's like, you can't eat a tomato
What are you
seed.
gonna do with
You
it?
can eat a
Yeah.
tomato. So like, let's talk about like planting it and watering it and sunlight, all the things that you're going to do. So you walk away from the conversation with something to do. And every single lesson of the 60, 70 lessons here and we are creating have actions for you to take, two,
Yeah.
three, four actions for you to take. So I'm always giving you something to do that brings something to life. And so you're going to be therefore learning and discovering so many different things that you can do to be in conversation with yourself.
Right.
And you're going to be finding some things that work better for you than others, some things that are more fun for you than others. And that's really important because I don't even call it working on myself. It's like,
Yeah.
I just like, I play with
Who wants
myself,
more
I
work?
practice,
Yeah.
I play. That's
Yeah.
it. There's no work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no homework, no work. It's like, if you're not enjoying it, then let's create something different. And
Yeah.
I'm super committed to making sure that you enjoy everything that you're doing and all of the work that you do with me, because I don't want you doing anything you don't enjoy to get to something that you might enjoy. It's counter to the whole point of the work. So, so therefore you end up having a repertoire of things that you enjoy doing that create yourself, that give you freedom, love, and power to help you to create what you want in your life. Um, and you like getting up in the morning and doing your yoga, doing your practices. You look
Yeah.
forward to it. And so we've created, should I share the creating log thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we've created this, we have this thing in our community called the creating log. Let's see. We go here and we hit topics and we go to click on creating log. It should bring up all the posts of people's creating logs.
Yep.
Right. So these are everybody's creating logs. And so you can see every day people go in here and I'll share mine just so that in case somebody doesn't want, like they're creating
Right.
it out on the internet. Here's mine. Um, so I've got a picture of my family and I've got like some declarations of who I am and what I am creating in my life and the world. And every day I drop in and I post a comment of like what I did that day, in my self-creating practice. Here's some insight that I had, some experience, some meta reflection. We actually have one of the lessons in here is how to set up your creating log. And I go in a deep dive into like the whole philosophy behind it and why it works. But in essence, it's a place for you to be keeping track of what creating practices and creating play that you're engaging in on a regular basis. And so many cool things come from that. This will kind of bleed into the other element, right? The essential element of community. But like, first and foremost, what happens is you are present to how good of a job you're doing. People
Yeah.
tend to forget really quickly that they're actually putting in the work. And when you
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
building up your creating log, like that was a new one for me. So I only saw like 7 or 8 comments, but like, I've got other ones where it's like 150 deep, 200 deep.
Yeah.
Look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, I've done a lot. And you can
Yeah.
look back and be like, oh my God, I forgot that I had that insight. That's what led to this and this and this. And then I met this person and now I've got this life. And oh my gosh. And it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you start to, the creating log helps you to really get that you're doing this,
Mhm.
not just happening. You're not getting lucky. And that's an important thing to see. It's part of the, oh, I can move. I
Yeah.
can step. I can create my reality.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much people can grow and achieve and forget that they did it and
Yeah.
then still be, it's like two steps forward, one step back.
Yeah.
Because they forgot that they did it, they
Mhm.
feel like they're starting over again. But when
Yeah.
they can remember that they did it, when they can remember that they're the one that raised the sail and that's what caught the wind, that's what got them to the place, like, oh yeah, I did that. I was thinking it was the wind, but I had a role to play.
Yes.
And when you can remember, the creating log helps you to remember
Yes.
how great you're doing and how great you are. Holds you to account, keeps you present to the work. Once you get going with it, you're going to want to keep going with it. It's a good
Yeah.
feeling. And then maybe this will lead us into the next piece.
Sure.
You're getting comments and other people in the community are like, wow, thanks for sharing that. That so inspired me. Oh, I'm so on, inspired by your vulnerability. I actually am going through the same thing, but I wasn't even willing to say it to myself. Never mind, post it here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And oh my God, well, what was that process you did? Where'd you learn that? It's like, oh, LinkedIn, this lesson over here. It's like, oh, cool. I'm going to go watch that now because I want to do that too. And so it
Yeah.
really helps to create a community vibe where people are helping each other out and feeling supported. And it gives you an opportunity also to support others when you're reading their creating log. And that is a great way of creating yourself, creating another person, acknowledging people, helping them is helping
Yes.
you. You can't talk to somebody else without talking to yourself at the same time. Because we've got two ears and one mouth, right? It goes in. And so yeah, I knew you were going to ask about the community piece next, but that leads us right into that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's number four, four
Yeah.
essential elements. Um, Being around a community of people that are engaged in the same work. So
Yeah.
why is it valuable? Why
Yeah,
not just do it on
yeah.
our own,
Well,
right?
actually, I've asked this of you before. I actually think
Yeah.
that you can speak to this better than me because
Yeah.
you were
That's my
in that
jam.
position.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
that's your jam. You're the community coordinator and you're good at it, but like also you experienced being in a program like this with me in
Yeah.
this work. And so, yeah, why don't you? I would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah. So for me, when I was stepping into this work, I was stepping outside of the common understanding that I was living in all of my other relationships, right? So I had relationships with my family, relationships with friends, relationships I was a homeschool mom in the homeschool community. There was at least just my common understanding of how everybody thought about the world, right? And that's what was normal, and that's what was okay, even. So when I stepped into this work and stepped into the power that it gives you and the agency and the love, right? That you start experiencing yourself and expressing to other people. If I was the only person I knew that was doing that, that would have been much harder to sustain and
Mm,
even to like let myself believe in, let myself try on.
mm,
It would have been so hard to let myself try on. Originally I did want to work with you one-on-one. And I'm really glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I went into the group program
mm,
because I met my best friend who I talk to every single day. And it gave me access to conversation with people that helped me develop mutual understandings with them that made this new way of thinking that works way better and has made my life infinitely more beautiful. That's to me what allowed it to be a new normal. I think even connection with one other person that's like, yeah, me too, I get it. Like then you've got a new reality, a new shared reality. And so it's been absolutely essential for me. And um, just the ability to talk to somebody else. I had moments where, you had challenged me with something and I was like, no effing way.
mm.
Right? And I got to talk to other people who had seen the same conversation,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
and talk through it and figure out um and just really they didn't have to figure out anything for me. They just got to be with me while I let it sink in, you
Mm,
know? And it was um invaluable to have other people around that are excited to have the same kind of conversations because most people are not asking how they created the circumstance that they don't like. Most of the people are not asking, what would I love to create next in my partner, right? Or in my body, in my life. They're in the conversation of what's wrong.
Right.
Um, and this is a very bold step out of that.
Mm.
And it was uh, a big enough shift. It was a bold thing to do to step into it when the people around me that I love, right, weren't
Mm.
there yet. And so since I've stepped into such um, bold agency and love, other people around me, it has flown, gotten into them
Right.
too.
Indeed.
Osmosis
Yeah.
spreads into them. But being in a community of people that are down to have the conversations that change lives on the regular, like it's so the people that show up to here, they're not just like tolerating it, they're like leaning in like me,
Yeah.
right? They're like,
Yeah.
let's look further, right? Let's look further again. They come with a curiosity for um for what can be created next and an eagerness to see what's really real that I haven't found anywhere else.
Mm.
And so,
Mm.
I think uh the the biggest gift too is also you talked about the creating log, being around people that are in the practice of acknowledging and encouraging is a really unique experience. People, you said, whiners don't last very long. Come, be a whiner. Come whine. It just won't last, man.
Yeah.
Because we're like, hey, cool. What do you want to create next?
Right.
Right? Like the vibe here is just one of upliftment,
Mm.
and you kind of can't get away from it, right? Hang out here, you will be uplifted.
Yeah. I guess I want to say about that because I agree with you, but I also have a bit of a the vibe is uplifted. I have a little bit of like a resistance to that or like
Huh?
reaction to it. Not in the way that you mean it, but in the way that I'm concerned it could be heard as
Sure.
it's like this just like happy go lucky. Hey, it's just all about positive vibes, man. Like, and that's all it is.
Hmm.
And there's a difference between like blowing smoke up somebody's ass and creating somebody. And there's a
Yeah.
difference between being high vibe because you let go of the shit that was holding you down and
Yeah.
high vibe because it's like spiritually cool to be high vibe. It's like I have no time for that and little patience for it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's as toxic as a negative attitude. There's no spiritual bypass here.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm pretty I'm very um intense on that with myself, and I think it comes through in the work, right? There's no
Yeah.
guruing, if I see it, I'm like, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him, like that becomes
Yeah.
the core lesson,
Yeah.
and so a lot of the kind of cliches of work that might be in the same domain are things that we almost are like, look, I don't know, I've got like the guy in the prison with the rifle, the laser on it. It's like I'm looking for that stuff to just annihilate it as soon as it shows up because it's the opposite of what I stand for. So I know that it's not what you meant at all, but
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to mark that out in case anybody heard it that way, like the way part of me did. So
Yeah, not upliftment as in high vibe only,
right.
upliftment as in you're powerful. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't deny your power if I tried.
Here's a distinction. It's
Hmm.
not that we are lifting you up, right?
Mm.
We are setting you free to be naturally exalted. Are
Yeah.
you expressing the truth of who you are?
Yeah. 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 By looking at what's real.
Yeah,
What that everything that's not real doesn't survive here. It falls away,
yeah,
right?
right.
It just falls away.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, like, and as you said, at first confronting experience, but after you let go of the shame of being confronted about parts of yourself that you don't like to see, once you don't play the shame game
Mhm.
anymore, that's
Yeah,
when the eagerness to see it starts,
yeah.
right? And that's yeah, foundational to creating. It's really beautiful. Mhm. So those are the four parts. Let's talk about what it takes before we move on to the investment, what it takes to quote graduate, right? So some people can,
Yeah.
you could come and you could show up and you could do a few things here or there, but I love how you made this checklist for people. Like, do this much of it, right? In
Yeah.
order to really, really get it. So for the mentorship, you're encouraging people to show up to 45 calls. They'll be like 50.
Not encouraging, requiring them if they want to graduate. And what does it mean to
Yeah.
graduate? What all it means is like, look, I resisted this for a long time, right? And I've talked about this with you because
Yes.
I don't like living in a world where a person needs a certain credential or a certificate in order to feel that they are capable or able or have the permission to do something in their life. I
Yeah.
don't subscribe to that idea. And
Yeah.
so I offer this benchmark for graduation, not as um, some kind of qualification where now you're at some point or now you're enough. It's like, that's not it. It's
Yeah.
really just a benchmark to say, if you do this much, then I feel like you've got it,
Yeah.
right? Like you've got a really good chance of getting it if you do this much. If you do less than this, I'm not sure that you'll get it.
Mhm.
That's why it's there. And it's like,
Yeah.
you have met my agreement with you that this is
Right.
the amount that I feel is what I can offer as a path for you to really get it. So it's like graduation means you get it, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, coming to 45, at least of the 50 live sessions is
Hmm.
because of what I was saying earlier. I don't just want you consuming content. I want you to be present live. I want you to experience the conversation in real time as it unfolds. And I want you to experience the impact your presence has on that conversation. That's
Yeah.
what people don't really get. I think a lot of times it's like they don't get that their presence at the conversation live, them having their camera on, what
Yeah.
they've talked about in previous conversations is influencing the direction of the conversation that they're not the one talking, but them
Right.
being there is part of where it goes because it's influencing their state of being and their presence and their love is influencing where this conversation goes, even though they're not talking right now. And so I
Yeah.
want people to experience the power of their presence, both in their listening and as a force of creation. And that will
Yeah.
be obvious to them if they come to that many live conversations over the course of the year.
Yeah. That's the difference between watching videos. You can go watch videos on YouTube or actually being in relationship with us.
Yeah.
Show
Wanting to
up and be in
experience the
relation.
impact of you being in relationship.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
So 45.
one of the ways that I help to bring this into a person's awareness, into people's awareness, is like this agreement that like if you're not going to be there, you're going to let us know in advance. That's not because I'm your dad and you need to report to me. It's because by doing so, you'll notice sometime one day you'll be on a call and somebody won't be there and they didn't let us know. And that lack of presence and the lack
Yeah.
of communicating creates like a void that has an
Yeah.
influence in that same way. And so you can be there without being there by presencing yourself and communicating. And that's just another, there's a lot of deep lessons in like the power that your being has. And so that's, some
Yeah.
of the many reasons I want you there 45 times at least. Live.
45 times. Core curriculum, 30 units. Do it your own pace over the
Yeah,
year, right?
yeah,
100 logs on your creating log,
yeah,
100 entries on your creating log. If
yeah.
you're not going to be in the practice, right, you're not
Right,
going to get the results.
right.
Not going to become your new default way of being. So 100, which that's like every 3 or 4 days. Like that's not,
Yeah.
um,
And I would just recommend doing it every day anyway,
yeah,
but like, you'll have days that you skip maybe because of life, but like, yeah,
yeah, minimum 100. And then participate in the community, right? Get to know people, be present,
yeah.
be here
Be
with
in
us.
conversation. We create in
Yeah.
conversation. So if you want to get better at that, like do it. Be in conversation with yourself, share about that in your creating log, be in conversation with others. Yeah.
And I say come and meet people and make friends that you're going to have for the rest of your life.
Mm.
I have, right?
Yes.
Any of the people in Creator Circle, the program that I did, I could call up today and say, "Hey, can I talk to you about something?" They'd be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
You
what's
spend a year having that much deep, intimate conversation with people, like that's it. That's like they're forever
yeah,
peeps at that point.
they're forever peeps." Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, let's talk about the financial investment. $5,000 if you pay once, or $500 a
It's so
month. Which one
funny.
do you recommend?
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go.
I'm working on that. What after this long conversation about everything this is, when you said financial investment, and I was like, what financial investment?
I know.
It's just so insignificant in comparison to everything that we're doing. It's
Yeah.
like a blip. But I think sometimes I'm glad we're making this video because I think sometimes if you price something at like $5,000, people are going to use that price to imagine what it is.
Yeah.
They're going to imagine it much smaller and much less significant. I
Yeah.
mean, I have clients that have paid six figures to work with me, and this is way more than I've ever done with any of those clients.
Yes.
And if somebody goes all in on this, they're going to get way more out of the work than that
Right.
client that paid six figures got. Because I'm
Yes.
doing everything in the kitchen sink and the frequency of contact, and it's, yeah. So yes, there's a financial investment. I'm sorry I laughed at it, but like, I'm just being honest. That was like, I've never experienced it before. It was my first time. I was just like, because we've been so present with everything that's good.
You just get the value of it
I
because
do.
you've seen the results
Yeah.
that it creates in people. And
Yes.
so and me too, for to look at to say someone to talk to someone and have them be concerned about if they're going to get their $5,000 worth. I'm like, you get to keep this forever. Like you get a year with us and then you get to keep the results forever. It's just,
It's not that, I think that their concern is probably that they don't know what we know about like how significant of a change they'll experience in their life.
yeah,
And so we can only like tell you over and over again, and we can show you the words from other people that like signed up to create some clients and they finished and they're like, oh my God, everything is better.
everything is better. Everything
And
is,
still, at the end of the day, it's going to take you um, listening to something deep inside you that says, I have a part of me that believes this is possible.
yeah,
Because there will be the part of me that's like doubt, 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 because other programs doubt, doubt, other it didn't do it, that didn't work. There's people out there just saying what they need to say. Blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
But you got to trust that thing like deep inside. It's like if this, and to be honest, like I love that at the end of the day, like I can't drag you across the threshold. We can't. You have to be willing to trust the call. So if there's a still small voice within you that says this is the right thing, I would say just do it
yeah,
every single time. Not just this, but whatever it is.
yeah. And
Sorry, back to the price. I interrupted. It was $5,000.
oh,
Go
that's
ahead.
5,000 or $500 a month, which would be 6,000 for the year.
Yes.
But I next wanted to presence what you're talking about. Like the ROI is up to you, man.
Yeah, man.
You get to choose what your ROI is. You can show up and say, I'm going to 10 times my income this year. What do you want? Right? What was my marriage worth?
I know.
Right? My investment was $10,000. I thought that I came there to build a business so I didn't have to be married anymore.
Trick,
Right?
yeah.
And now I get a
That's what I'm
business
gonna trick,
and a
yeah.
marriage, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And I get to help other people create
right.
the marriages of their dreams. Like the new understandings that you develop here, the person that it creates you to be, there's no price tag you can put on that. There's
No,
just really isn't.
no.
Um, so whatever you want the ROI to be, show up for that and you can create it. That's what we're a stand for,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah. So how do people move forward? What should they do next, JP?
We go to wearecreating.com and navigate to the creator's journey course.
Hmm.
And there's buttons all throughout the page that all scroll you to the bottom. So you can just scroll to the bottom and then just pick a payment plan. You
Yeah.
click the button. If you're already a member of the We Are Creating community, there's an upgrade button. You can just click the button and you can put in your credit card details and pay, 500 bucks a month or 5 grand and hit submit, and you will be automatically like redirected to all the courses, which will magically appear in your Mighty Networks. You can set up your creating log. You can start taking the courses, and whenever the next live call is, like start attending, and be in conversation with me, and with you, and everybody else in Creator's Journey. And that's it. You've begun the greatest year of your life so far. That's my commitment.
Greatest year of your life so far.
Mhm.
And what did you say before? The worst days of your life will be behind you.
Yeah, that's also
Yeah.
my commitment. Yeah.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Well, I want to acknowledge you for the difference you make in the world. You've made a huge difference in my world. It's
Thank
just,
you.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, encourage anyone, if you have any questions, reach out. We would always love to talk and help people know, right, that this will make the difference for them, just like it's made the difference for so many other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and fair enough. If you want to know, if you want to share your particular circumstance and and get our words about how and why this will specifically work for you, then yeah, reach out. We're happy
Yeah.
to talk to you about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for a wonderful talk, JP.
Thank you. Lots of love. See you guys.